and thank you for coming to my workshop. My name is Emily, and I'm originally from Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. I grew up surrounded by politics, and that's what I studied when I went to university. One of the things that I love about politics is the opportunity to debate, to think about an issue from different sides, to do your research, and ultimately to ask others to see things from a different perspective. A debate is a formal discussion about a specific subject, often in a public setting. Formal debates are a big part of the political process, as new bills are typically debated before a vote. But understanding how to debate can be useful for any career in any setting. Knowing how to debate means knowing how to research a subject, how to anticipate counterpoints, and how to make a compelling argument. A lot of schools have debate clubs now where students can practice debating against their classmates or other schools in official competitions. And once you think about it, I bet you'll discover a lot of other situations where you debate in your daily life without even realizing it. Today, we're going to talk through the structure of a debate and practice some debating skills so you'll be prepared to take on the opposition the next time you find yourself in a debate. A formal debate is typically between two people or two sides about a set topic. The topic is usually controversial and it won't have a right or wrong answer. This topic is called the motion, and the two sides are called the affirmative, the person arguing for the motion, and the negative, the person arguing against the motion. This structure might not always play out in the real world. There are often more than two sides when we're talking about big world issues, but it's helpful to practice with this structure because we can clearly think through our argument and the opposing argument. Now, in a debating competition, the motion and your position will both be decided for you. But in the real world, your position will be determined by your opinion on the topic. For the purposes of this workshop, I'm going to pick a topic for us that's relatively straightforward, at least on the surface. This is an age-old question and one that I at least have a pretty strong opinion on. Are dogs better than cats? Now, I've chosen the question, but I won't choose your position. The affirmative side would say, yes, dogs are better than cats. The negative side, spoiler alert, this is my side, would say, no, dogs are not better than cats. I'm a little biased because I was raised with cats, but take a second to think about how you feel about the topic. My guess is that some of you had a pretty strong reaction, but if you need to pause the video and think about what position you want to take, affirmative or negative, you can do that now. Now that you've chosen your position, you need to prepare your argument. Debates are based on facts, not feelings, so it's important that you do your research to make an argument that is both true and supports your position. Your first instinct might be to say, well, I think that dogs are better because my dog is really cute, but that's just your opinion. I'm sure your dog is really cute, but there's no scientific evidence to support that statement, and your opposition would say exactly that. Instead, you could say that owning a dog has been proven to lower depression and help you live longer. Those are statements that can be backed up by actual hard evidence. So let's pause here to think of a few arguments to support whatever position you've chosen. If you want to do a quick Google search of some evidence, go ahead, but you can also brainstorm a few points and then take the time to research them later. So feel free to pause the video now and write down 3 to 4 arguments that you think you could make during this debate. Okay, now that that's done, let's move on to the structure of a debate. The affirmative side will start by introducing their position and then providing arguments that support their case before finally stating a conclusion to their position. Then the negative side will do exactly the same: introduction, arguments, and a concluding statement. In a competitive debate, there will be a time limit for each part, so each person will only get a few minutes to speak at each stage, so you need to come prepared. This is why research is so important before you start. It's much harder to think of your responses and form them into a really compelling argument on the spot if you're thinking about the topic for the first time. You may have a few initial thoughts, but you need to be able to back them up with that evidence and structure your statements in a way that makes a really strong point because the other team is going to have facts too. After each side has a chance to state their arguments, there's often a break or a recess for the teams to think of a rebuttal, which is a counter argument to the opposing position. So when you're preparing for the debate, you're not just thinking about the arguments to support your side, you also need to think about what the other side is going to be arguing. You won't hear their actual argument until you're facing them on the debate stage, but you can probably come up with a few informed guesses about what arguments they'll be making. So you've already written down the arguments to support your side of the motion, and now put yourself in the opposition's shoes. You can pause the video again here and write down 3 to 4 arguments that you think that the opposition is going to make in the debate. Now, the final step in this preparation is to look at that list that you've just written of the opposition's predicted arguments and think about how you can rebut those. What evidence can you give to counter their points? I will give you an example. So, I've taken the negative side, and I predict that the affirmative side will make the argument that dogs are better than cats because they can be trained to do things. But I've done my research and I know that cats can also be trained. There's hard evidence out there to show that cats can be trained to do things. And in fact, there's a whole new Netflix documentary about how you can train a cat. So during the debate, if the opposition uses that argument, I have my rebuttal ready. For the rebuttals, typically the negative side will get to go first, and then there are 2 rounds of rebuttals on each side before both get to make a closing statement. In a competition, there will be a judge. The judge isn't there to decide who's right or wrong, but who made the most compelling argument. In the real world, there may not be a clear, unbiased judge. In a political debate, the winner is likely to be decided by a vote. If you're debating amongst your family about what movie to watch together, the winner might be decided by your parents, unless you have a democratic family decision making process. So when you're debating, you're not just stating facts, you're also trying to convince the other people to take your position seriously and ultimately to agree with you. And that means that we also need to think about how we're making the argument. And our behavior can go a really long way here. So listening respectfully is key. You've come into the argument with facts, evidence, and a strong case for your position, and you've even prepared some rebuttals. But so has the other person. You need to actively listen to what they're saying to understand how to make your argument stronger. And even if you disagree strongly with their statements, you can still respect the time and effort that they've put into the debate. It's not going to help your side if you're yelling or verbally attacking the opposition. It's okay to feel passionately about your argument, but it's also important to stay calm when you're presenting your facts and be thoughtful about how you're speaking to your opponent. Don't forget to breathe. And if you need to take a minute to think about what you want to say next, you can. It's better to take a moment to process and collect your thoughts rather than rushing through a list of facts. So remember that you've come prepared and that your voice has value in this space. Now that we've talked through the elements of a debate, I hope you feel a little more prepared to advocate for your position in the future. To practice, maybe you can hold a debate with family or friends. Together, you can pick a motion and designate sides. And if you have someone you trust to be a judge, you can make it a real competition. I'd also love to hear some of the arguments and rebuttals that we wrote down together today. I don't see myself changing my position on the topic anytime soon, but we'll see how compelling you can be in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something and I hope you had fun because I certainly did. I will see you at next year's festival and happy debating.